Hi everyone, sorry, I'm starting slightly late. Today we're going to talk about self-love and the idea of how you can use self-love to bounce back after a breakup, whether you have had a difficult breakup, whether you started to or you initiated the breakup with your partner. So really depending on how you can use this event, this situation to really learn from it, to really grow from it. A breakup is never something that brings a lot of pleasure, but can bring a lot of awareness, a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights about you and about your next relationship. So on this slide, I'm going to explain also a few things that you could be doing. It's going to be very practical as well. Um, Let me know in the comment section if you have any question. If you have any question, if you have any comment, it'd be great to see and learn from you whether you are having a hard time dealing with the breakup. What makes it hard for you to manage this breakup? What makes it hard for you to deal with this situation? Sometimes we assume that our ex is stronger, or ex is more resilient because they feel like they don't care or they are managing the breakup better than what we do. I just want to remind you that being depressed, being anxious, being sad after a breakup, it's a normal reaction. It's a normal reaction, and it's a reaction of someone who has feelings, someone who is a human being, and someone who simply is reacting to a massive change in your life. A breakup is the manifestation of a strong bond with a primary attachment figure that ends. And so we need to readjust. And the way we react to this event is this fight or flight response that I discuss and I explain a lot in my videos. And the idea is that here we are on automatic mode, overreacting, letting negative thoughts, negative talk take the lead. And the idea here is to acknowledge that the response to our well being, the response to this pain, the solution doesn't come from your partner, doesn't come from your ex, it doesn't come from me either. The solution comes from you. I often say that sometimes we are our worst enemies, but understand that you can also be your best friend, your best ally. The thing that we have sometimes, and I was listening to a TED Talk the other day, we have thousands of thoughts every day that comes through our mind. The problem is most of those thoughts are negative. Most of those thoughts are about things we don't like about ourselves, things we want to change, things we want to improve. The problem is, of course, after a breakup, we overthink about those things. And another interesting thing about thoughts is that more than 90% of our thoughts are repetitive. And so, what's going on after a breakup is that sometimes we are, on a path that has potentially has started years and years ago when you were kids, when we were kids, and we continue on that path of self-criticism, of not feeling good enough, of thinking that we need someone in our life to feel complete. And this breakup is just, or the way you react after this breakup, you're just continuing on this path. And this path could be very visual, but in a way, if you look in your brain, it's neural pathways. Neural pathway is basically when we bring an idea and we start making connection in our brain. when we are kids and we start making connections between our experience as children with our definition of relationships. And we bring those neural pathways, we reinforce them each interaction, each relationship. And your job, our job, is to look at and filter in and out what's helpful, what's not helpful, looking at those thoughts. Most of them, as I said, are usually negative. That's how we are human beings. We tend to focus on the things that we can improve. Okay, could deliver a lot of results, could deliver a lot of impact, but from our point of view, in terms of well-being, it's not ideal. And so the idea here in this video is I really want you to, and we'll have a discussion, and I would like to see, get your opinion on that, is to really force yourself to understand that the pain, the difficulties that you're going through, you have the answer. The problem you're struggling right now is because you think your ex has the answer. It's really about reflecting on those belief systems, what we would call, and we did a workshop with Elizabeth a few weeks ago about limiting beliefs. So many times when I have clients on the phone and they describe their situation, it's very obvious when you have a third party, another unbiased pair of eyes, you can see, and if you have a bit of experience, you can see, you can list dozens of limited beliefs. And those beliefs will drive the way you react, will drive the way you perceive this breakup. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you practical, my top 9 ways to feel better, to use self-care. Because when you are in a committed relationship or after a breakup, taking care of yourself should be a priority. And when you have an anxious attachment style, for example, we tend to put our needs after our partners, after others. And practicing self-care will make you feel better right away. And will help you as well reflecting on those mechanisms. So as you know, if you, I guess it's not the first video of myself that you watch, I want to spend a bit of time explaining how your mind works, how your brain works, so you can take better decisions. The problem that we all have is that most of our thoughts are unconscious. And because they're unconscious, we don't have any control. And our job as therapists is to really unpack those unconscious aspect of our personality, aspect of ourselves, and decide whether we want to keep them or not. I'm going to take a few questions before I move to the first tip. I would like to ask, what sort of things, or how do you feel after this breakup? Do you feel these breakups sort of made new or insecurities resurface, that if you were anxious, you're more anxious? How this would you say this breakup changed you? So Robert, being an anxious person, kind of hope anyone I'm interested isn't seeing multiple people, but where I don't think I would be getting myself tied down again to one person. Yeah, I think it's common for anxious people to always feel that the other will leave us for someone else. I recorded a video, but it's not live yet, where I listed few sort of scenarios that could happen when you're a child that makes you believe that your partner would leave you for someone else. And I don't know your story, and that's not the forum to discuss about your story, Robert, but I think sometimes we create those scenarios that I discussed at the beginning of those neural pathways, where we feel like my framework of relationship is that if I trust someone, he will leave me. He will find someone else. and he will neglect me. He will abandon me. Okay. And when you start a relationship with this in mind, and again, it's unconscious. Right now, what I'm doing is to really help you bring more awareness of those things. When you get, when you're more aware of those things, you can decide whether you want them or not. It's a workout. It's a mental workout to really transform and change those unconscious behaviors to being conscious, because the problem is that our primitive brain is extremely fast. And so taking the lead of those automatic processes takes a bit of effort. It's not natural because we are hardwired to work automatically because it's more efficient. Let me share with you the first strategy or tactic that I use with my clients when it comes about self-love and self-care. The first one I think is understand your emotion. Very often we fail to understand that by reflecting on those, we can gain a lot of insight. When you're avoidant, when you have a tendency to be avoidant, like myself, you tend to feel like an emotion is bad. It's weakness. I don't want to come across as weak, and I won't look at them, and I won't use them. When you're a bit anxious, when you have this form of anxiety, those emotions will drive your behavior. So the idea in the exercise here is to really manage and prevent emotions from overwhelming you. When you build this habit of analyzing, of naming, of pausing the process, you will be less likely to experience negative impact. So the idea is to really take time to reflect on your emotion and practice any type of mindfulness technique to develop this emotional awareness. And remember, you are not your emotions. Emotion is simply a signal in your brain. Usually it's meant to help us, but very often, especially with relationships, it's not really helpful. It's making us react in an immature way, in a primitive way, and we're all better than this. Second thing is, it's very simple and it's very powerful. It's really engaging in meaningful activities. The idea of meaningful activities is really see the progress, really see the purpose. Sometimes we lack purpose after a breakup, and we don't know exactly what is our use. Sometimes we define how useful we are because we are there to help our partner, there to support, almost as we are caregivers for our partners. And so finding yourself in meaningful activities could be helping others, could be learning something new, could be, finding something that provides pleasure. It sounds really obvious, but I looked at looking at my notes. There's a study from Lewandowski, the same name as the footballer, from 2007, that when you engage in self-expansion activities, you improve your personal growth because you focus your attention on something that is in line with growth, with novelty, and that brings a lot of positivity in your life. Third one is really about what I would call a personal sanctuary. So it's really about having your own space where you can retreat and relax, and when you can practice. I think there's a lot of we are very visual, and I think there's also the conditioning. When you go to a place that is associated with self-care, with well-being, you're in better condition to make it work. So having a sanctuary sanctuary will help you to provide that emotional support and clarity as well, because I think we are so overwhelmed by our phones or notification and so on. This is a place, and you don't have to spend hours in that space. It could be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But I think the intent, and I think that's the same for those things, and pick the ones you prefer. It should be a daily habit. Really here, what we are trying to do, the key message here, if there's something you need to remember from this call, is that self-love is not something you should try and see whether it works. Self-love is your new habit. It's like brushing your teeth. It's something you need to do consistently every single day. There's no one else you need to love but yourself. So if you've been neglecting this person, you, for so many years, okay, let's change that. And let's find ways to express love. Okay, let's find ways to really nurture this relationship that you have with yourself. Another strategy, another technique that you could be using, I don't remember if I'm the fourth or fifth one, is to practice positive affirmations. And I love this story. It's from Emile Coué, who is a Belgian psychologist, who actually made an experiment. It's a famous experiment where he asked people who had severe mental health issues, really depressed, to use an affirmation and use that a couple of times per day. And he had like a control group of people taking pills and another control group of not doing anything. And the people who were using affirmations regularly, I think it was every morning and every evening, felt way better. Not 100% of them, but a significant number compared. And it was very similar, if not better, than people who would take pills and antidepressants. Back beginning of the 20th century, I don't know if we had to compare with antidepressant if we'll get the same results, but still, the power of the words, and I'm not talking about law of attraction. This is scientifically proven that what we say, we don't make the difference between reality and between vision. And so when we remind ourselves, I love myself, I'm worthy of love, find any affirmation you like, your brain doesn't know the difference. Okay, and that's amazing. I mean, now there's a lot of things about affirmation because it's so simple. You don't need to buy a book, you don't need to see a therapist, you don't need to book a call with me or with Elizabeth, you don't need to watch videos, you just do it. And again, this is like brushing your teeth. It should be your ritual every single day. Maybe you will need it for a couple of weeks, few weeks to get back in shape, to get back in the right mood. But trust me, it does work. It does work. Another one that that you do when you see a therapist is having regular self-assessment. So the idea is to, and especially when I do this with my clients on who are that I help on WhatsApp, is have moment. I ask them to have a moment in the day and check in with yourself. I don't have my phone with me, but I have an app on my phone where I get a reminder, a notification in the morning, in the evening, and I can basically say how I'm feeling during the day, and I can write some notes because I don't really like notepads. I'm always have my phone. The idea is to really reflect on your emotional state, reflect on the stressor, the triggers, and see what you need to adjust. So it's really about engineering your life, engineering what makes you feel tired, the different things that you've learned. You can use it as a gratitude journal as well, which is very important when it comes to self-love. Another one very important, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys would learn from that, would benefit from that, is to redirect your inner critic. We are often very critical about ourselves. And when we do, that increases the emotional distress. And so and that's the whole work. So that's why I do in therapy. And that's what you can learn on your own if you are able to do it. I, for example, wasn't able to do it without the therapist back in the days. But the idea is to really listen, notice the inner critic when it's becoming too loud, and consciously shift your focus to something more positive and constructive. So it's really about noticing. That's why we talk a lot about mindfulness. And mindfulness is not only listening to a tape 30 minutes a day of someone speaking and telling you to breathe in and out. Mindfulness is just realizing what's going on at a given point in time. What's going on when you feel something in your body, when your ex is not replying, when you send something to your ex, when you feel you're going to bed and you feel lonely. What's going on? Very often we don't pause, we don't pay attention, and we let emotions, we let those feelings take the lead. That's why we feel depressed, we are sleep deprived, we eat, we binge eat, there's so many toxic responses to those things, to those negative feelings. Interesting studies shown that one way to reduce heart disease is to be less stressed, right? It makes sense. So self-love can also save your life in a way, because by failing to recognize your importance, you're creating conditions for you to be more stressed, to be more anxious. And that will have a ripple effect. And again, I'm getting back, and it's going to be the third time I'm saying this. It's like brushing your teeth. You're not going to lose your teeth if you don't brush your teeth one day, if you skip. But it's about doing it every single day to maintain dental hygiene. So it's the same. If you want to maintain a mental hygiene, is making sure that you remove the negative ones. There's usually a sort of a balance. Maybe you're thinking 80% of the time negative thoughts and 20% positive thoughts. Reverse the balance. 80% should only be positive and 20% negative, and that will make a massive effect. And this is something that should be with you for the rest of your life. Another very important one is to cultivate self-compassion. So that's really vital. And so when you practice self-compassion, you increase psychological well-being, you accept your emotions without judgment, and you are kind to yourself, because very often we are very, very hard on ourselves. And it's very important, especially when we are going through a hard time, to understand this and to really look at this with an empathetic and kind way about yourself. You know, sometimes we are the worst people. We say really difficult things about ourselves, and we should be really the ones supporting us, right? And the last one, one of the last one, and I think it's essential when you are in a relationship. It's tricky when you try to get back with the next, because it's really a question of timing, is how you can communicate your feeling. Because when you express your emotions, you trust that they can provide support, right? So the problem is finding the right balance, because people who are codependent, who are anxious, they tend to over-rely excessively on others for emotional support. But talking about your feelings can really lead to psychological well-being. There's been studies about that. If I look at my notes, it's Payne Baker and Bale in 1986. So having a social support, whether it's friends, family member, a therapist, to share those thoughts, to share those emotions in a safe and nurturing environment, that does make a massive difference. So I've listed few strategies, and I think I'm going to launch a course in the next few weeks, potentially next week, I don't know yet, about how you can really heal after a breakup. Because I know some of my clients, they want to get back with their ex, and I help them, and I with supports about the no contact and how you break no contact, how you communicate effectively, how you're more secure, and so on and so forth. But some people that are following this channel are simply struggling dealing with the breakup. And I know it's extremely painful. I know it's really a hard time. And I know sometimes, because I've seen that feedback, and that's why I've decided to create this course. Sometimes people feel like, they go through, see a therapist, but they don't really get any answer, any progress. Therapists, sometimes they have a tendency to ask a lot of questions, but they don't necessarily guide you. That's how they're trained, especially UKIP psychologists, where it's really about digging and digging and digging and digging, but you don't necessarily see what you can get from that. How can you sort of move forward from this? So the idea of this course, and I will share the link to purchase the workbook, to access the workbook of this course, is to really get a structure where you have tons of exercises, tips for you to structure this thinking process. I know it's very hard. I know it's very confusing. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of pain, and we want to really ease the pain. The problem is that the answer is not getting back with your ex. This is the sign that you should try to reflect. Maybe you'll get back with your ex. It doesn't have to be either or. It should actually be reflecting, and even if you have a chance of getting back with your ex, even if you should get back with your ex, you need to do that work first. It will pay off for you, it will pay off for your ex. But it's very important to do this work of self-reflection. You learn so much about this, and the idea is what I've created is a framework that could really be used with my clients when I do one-to-one calls, or when I'm on WhatsApp, but also something that you could do on your own self-paced document. And on top of that, we're going to have a Telegram group for you to engage and discuss with like-minded people who would support each other if you want to ask me questions, and so on. I saw that Robert is asking me a lot of questions. Do you have any question? Do you feel, or the question would be, what sort of things would you need for you in order to sort of bounce back after this breakup? Or what is holding you back? Let me know. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'll wait for your answers. If you don't have any questions, I will end the live for today. It was good to have this live. I'll try to do more of those. This Saturday, we have a workshop with Elizabeth for the people who are part of our community. If you want to know how to join the community, I will leave a link as well for you to join. There's a 7 days free trial, and you get access to all the workshop replays that we've done since the beginning of the year. I think we're about 30 workshops to date. And any course that I will upload, so we have a course on how to be more secure if you have an anxious attachment style. I will post a course on how to heal from a breakup. If not next week, the week after. I'm very busy at the moment. And I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself and have a great day. Bye-bye.